Kia ora, good evening. Exploration in the Great South Basin looks more optimistic than a few months ago, according to Shell New Zealand Exploration Venture Manager Roland Spau. In April, Mr Spau said there was a 50-50 chance Shell would commit to drill, but says he's now more optimistic as a result of technical work so far. Shell is part of a consortium which holds 2 exploration permits in the Great South Basin. Mr Spau says there's still a lot of work to be done, but hopes a decision could be made in 3 months' time. Southland could be used as a base if the project proceeds, but Dunedin is also a possibility. Accommodation providers saw an 8% rise in national guest nights in the year to May. According to Statistics New Zealand, the trend for national guest nights is showing sustained growth for the latest 12 months and is at the highest level recorded in the series' 17-year history. While nationally numbers were up and Southland occupancy was static, up just 0.1% compared with May 2012, Statistics New Zealand says guest night movements have been volatile for several months. The survey records guests staying in hotels, motels, backpackers and holiday parks. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of the KiwiCan program in Southland this week, 1,200 Southland students are undertaking random acts of kindness in their communities. Fernworth Primary School pupils this morning handed out cards and balloons to houses surrounding the school to celebrate the occasion. The students have been planning this over term 2. Part of KiwiCan is about making connections with the community and learning how important it is to help others. KiwiCan is one of the programs run by the Foundation for Youth Development as a way to help young people learn their potential, set goals and change their lives. And I spoke to Foundation for Youth Development co-founder Graham Dingle about the Foundation's work and 10 years in Southland.
Well, it's a great success story down here. I think Tommy Fogo from Sanford started the KiwiCan program 10 years ago and he's still the chair. So that's a great success story. And it's got great backing. I mean, Southland people are wonderful and very generous.
Why do you think we need these kinds of programs?
Well, we need the programs because New Zealand has some dreadful negative youth statistics. We have some of the highest rates of youth suicide, youth incarceration, unplanned teenage pregnancy, dropout from school, and so on. It's not tolerable, frankly. We have to work very hard to change that around. Now, curiously, I mean, when we started 18 years ago, our goal was to impact on the negative youth statistics. And probably the hardest one, if I had been asked at the time, I would have said the hardest one to impact on is going to be youth offending and youth incarceration. But of all of those negative statistics, that one is trending down.
What has been the biggest challenge then?
Well, I think making sure that we develop programs that are proven to work. Not just, things that look like they work, but being able to prove that they actually turn kids' lives around. So if you look at the Project K program, for example, we developed a measure to measure the self-efficacy of each kid. Now that sounds like a mouthful, but it's essentially a measure of how a young person feels about themselves, about their family, about their school, about the community they live in and so on. And if the young people get a low score in that survey, then they get the chance to do Project K, and we can track that growth of self-efficacy. We can, see the kid's life being turned around by the 14-month intervention.
And stay with us. After the break, residential property values rise more than 7.5% nationally. How does the South stack up? Welcome back. A new sustainable dairying water accord has been launched by the dairy industry, setting out expectations for water quality and a reduction in environmental impacts from dairy farming. Federated Farmers Dairy Chair Willie Lefferink says the organisation's signature on the accord is the individual farmers' commitment to do all they can to protect water quality in streams and rivers. He says if dairy farmers want to meet industry aspirations, government expectations and earn the respect of the wider community, then farming sustainably is the way ahead. Fish and Game New Zealand says while the accord has positive additions, it still fails to address the main impacts on water quality of small streams and is seemingly toothless in ensuring compliance with targets. Residential property values have risen more than 7.5% nationally over the past year, with an almost 3% rise over the past 3 months. According to QV, residential house values rose 7.6% nationally in the year to June, while Southland fell 2.7%. Invercargill also fell, down 0.7%, while Gore was down 2.4%. Over the past 3 months, house values nationally rose 2.8%. In Southland, they rose 1%, but Invercargill dropped 2% and Gore fell 3.5%. Important messages which could one day save lives in an emergency were being shared in Invercargill today. Members of a Christchurch group were in the south sharing what they've learned from the Christchurch earthquake. Lessons learned in the Christchurch earthquakes have been shared in the deep south. 2 self-advocacy workshops have been held for 28 people with intellectual disabilities in Southland, with a group of Cantabrians wanting to share their experiences and help others. IHC National Self-Advocacy Coordinator Trisha Ventum says the purpose is to prepare people for a natural disaster.
I think bringing people from Christchurch who are part of a Christchurch earthquake group there, it's about sharing those experiences and those stories so that other people can learn from them.
She says the Christchurch quake had some important lessons which are being shared.
A couple of the most important messages are to stay put, if you're safe, to stay put. And also what the group have found is that grassroots kind of civil defence starts with knowing your neighbours.
Michael Kramer is a spokesperson for the Christchurch Earthquake Reflection Group and says the big earthquake was challenging.
Changed in so many ways because having to think, okay, your neighbours are right, and families down the road are right, and for me, having to try and process all this, try and text people, and the phone lines are all down. It's just utter chaos.
He wants to tell people to be ready in case of an emergency.
Make sure you have an emergency kit, a contact phone list, family, friends, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, sort of people that you know, that you can text.
Another group member, Gary Buchanan, spent the night in an evacuation centre after the quake.
It was very dramatic. I had to sleep in Burnside Hall overnight in a gym, and it was very noisy, and every half an hour there was a quake.
He wants people to have emergency plans and kits prepared.
I think if we get another big one, or even a flood or something like that, we need to do that.
Emergency Management Southland advisor Craig Sinclair also addressed the group, teaching them how to prepare. He says it's also a learning experience for emergency management.
There are a lot of diverse groups within the community, and it's really good to interact with these people, find out how they would do things, how they would perhaps think in an emergency, and to try and allay some of their fears and get them better prepared so that they can handle it for themselves.
Invercargill resident Richard Wade says he'll be preparing for an emergency following the workshop.
It's sort of been a learning spot for me mostly for it all, yeah.
While Leanne King says she now knows what to do in an earthquake.
Hide under a table and hold on for dear life.
The next steps now are for people to prepare for an emergency, acting on what they've learned, and to start making connections in the community. Sarah Bedford, South Today News. Dozens of young Southland children are getting a taste for helping the environment with the Enviro Schools program being rolled out at kindergartens in the region. Around 46 children at Lees Street Kindergarten in Invercargill are now part of the Enviro Schools program, with the kindergarten the first in the region to join the program. The 3.5 to 4-year-olds are growing their own seedlings, which they'll later plant at locations significant to them. Head teacher Wendy McLaughlin says the kindergarten wanted to be part of the program when the opportunity arose.
Yes, or come and they'll
We believe that our children are the future generation. You know, they're set with the responsibility of looking after this planet. And because we had some environmental programs already going within our centre, we just wanted to extend on that and expand that. And we had the opportunity to join the Enviro Schools, so we just took it with both hands, really. Yeah.
Do you have a goal of what you're hoping to achieve through the program?
Yeah, well, we want to teach the children as much as we can about sustainable issues and global issues. We're starting with our nursery, teaching the children to nurture the plants so that they can replace. We teach them if you knock a tree down or break a tree, you've got to put another tree back. And our next project will be a waste management plan, working with recycling, reusing, yeah.
The Enviro Schools program is designed to help students and schools work towards sustainability and play a role in creating sustainable communities. The local program is coordinated by Environment Southland, and Education Officer Pat Hoffman says 22 schools and 3 kindergartens are signed up.
It's really all about learning for sustainability and providing opportunities for children to learn about the environment and learn how to take action towards a more sustainable world. We really want to encourage learning for sustainability at all levels of education. And we've had schools in primary, intermediate and secondary involved, and now we want to just complete the whole cycle and have kindies involved as well. It's really great to be working with kindies because it gives us access to families and to communities as well, because parents are just so involved with kindergartens.
And that's it from the news team tonight. Coming up in sport, we've got more from the State Insurance short course swimming champs from the news team. Good night.